B-1B Lancer, America's relentless bomber that refuses to fade. In the depths of the Cold War, the United States Air Force sought an aircraft that could bypass Soviet radar, penetrate deep into enemy territory, and deliver a nuclear payload with speed and precision. What emerged from this demand was a bomber unlike anything that had flown before. The B-1 program, initially launched in the 1962nd, was a response to growing Soviet air defense sophistication. It was a gamble, both technologically and politically, and like most Cold War gambits, it was born in secrecy and driven by fear. The first iteration, known simply as the B-1 Ampere, was a marvel of design. It was fast, reaching speeds of over Mach 2, and had a swing wing configuration that allowed it to fly efficiently at both high and low altitudes. But the project met fierce resistance. Critics pointed to ballooning costs, vulnerability to surface-to-air missiles, and overlapping roles with the emerging cruise missile strategy. In 1977, President Jimmy Carter canceled the B-1 Ampere program in favor of developing long-range cruise missiles launched from bombers and submarines. But the B-1 was not dead. In 1981, President Ronald Reagan revived the program, citing the growing threat of Soviet mobile missile systems and hardened targets. The reborn aircraft, designated B-1B Lancer, was redesigned to better suit the new strategic realities. It was no longer supersonic. Instead, it emphasized low-level penetration at high subsonic speeds, with a reduced radar cross-section and enhanced payload capacity. By sacrificing speed, engineers had made the B-1B a more survivable and flexible platform. When the first B-1B entered service in 1986, it was met with both anticipation and skepticism. Pilots had to learn how to manage its advanced avionics, fly at treetop level in all weather conditions, and maintain control over a massive aircraft designed to carry up to 75,000 pounds of ordnance. Its debut shifted strategic planning across the globe. Soviet defense planners were forced to consider a threat that could appear without warning and strike critical infrastructure deep inside their territory. Despite being built for nuclear war, the B-1B would never drop a nuclear bomb. In the aftermath of the Cold War, its role shifted toward conventional missions. This transition was cemented by the 1995 decision to remove the Lancer from the nuclear mission and convert it fully into a conventional bomber. The aircraft underwent numerous upgrades, from new targeting systems to improved navigation and electronic countermeasures. Its 3 internal bomb bays were modified to carry precision-guided munitions, cluster bombs, and eventually, standoff weapons. The bomber's first combat appearance came during Operation Desert Fox in 1998, when it struck Iraqi military targets. But it was during the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq that the B-1B truly earned its modern reputation. Nicknamed the Bone by aircrews, it became a favorite among ground forces who relied on its loiter time, payload, and responsiveness. Unlike the B-52, the Lancer could move quickly between locations and deliver ordnance with surgical precision. It is during this phase that many Americans lost sight of what the B-1B really was. To most, it was just another bomber. But to military historians and foreign intelligence agencies, it remained one of the most complex aircraft ever built. Each mission it flew required coordination with space-based assets, mid-air refueling, and tight integration with ground controllers. Its role in joint operations became indispensable, and its crews developed a reputation for professionalism and precision. What many Americans may not know is that in several instances, adversaries believed they were being attacked by stealth aircraft, when in fact it was the B-1B operating at night under radio silence. Its radar cross-section, while not as small as a stealth fighter, was far less than that of the lumbering B-52. Coupled with its terrain-hugging capabilities, the Lancer could appear suddenly and vanish just as quickly, leaving behind only devastation. There were moments when the B-1B nearly fell out of favor. In the early 2002, with budget pressures mounting, some within the Department of Defense questioned whether the aging fleet should be retired. Maintenance was expensive, parts were scarce, and newer platforms like the B-2 Spirit were entering service. But again, history intervened. The demand for precision bombing and counter-terrorism operations proved so high that the B-1B was pulled back into regular service with renewed urgency. In 2011, during Operation Odyssey Dawn in Libya, B-1Bs launched from the continental United States and struck targets in North Africa. This mission, lasting over 25 hours, demonstrated that even decades after its design, the Lancer could still deliver effects across the globe. It was not just a holdover from the Cold War. It was a flexible, global strike platform capable of adjusting to modern warfare. Military experts, including former Air Force General Tim Ray, argue that the Lancer still has untapped potential. With upgrades to its radar, engines, and communications systems, it could remain relevant into the 2032. One of the more ambitious ideas being explored is arming the B-1B with hypersonic missiles. Doing so would make it not just a bomber, but a launch pad for the most advanced weapons in the American arsenal. It would give the aircraft the ability to strike strategic targets with little warning and little chance of interception. The B-1B also plays a key role in Allied reassurance. Its presence in joint training missions with Japan, South Korea, and Australia signals American commitment to regional security. When tensions rise in the Pacific, it is often the Lancer that appears first in the skies, reminding potential adversaries of the range and readiness of American air power. Chinese and Russian analysts continue to publish reports analyzing B-1B flight paths, loadouts, and likely targets. One lesser-known episode in the aircraft's legacy occurred during the height of the Afghanistan War. In 2008, a B-1B was credited with breaking up an ambush in Kunar province that had trapped a U.S. Special Operations team. With the terrain too dangerous for helicopters and fast jets low on fuel, the Lancer orbited overhead for nearly an hour, making multiple gun runs with guided bombs until the trapped soldiers could escape. This type of mission became routine. The bomber was no longer just a strategic platform. It had become a guardian for troops on the ground. There are also classified aspects of the B-1B's operations that will likely remain undisclosed for decades. Some reports suggest it has been used in signal intelligence roles, acting as a communications hub in electronic warfare missions. Its massive payload bay and power generation capabilities allow it to carry systems that would be impossible to fit on smaller platforms. In these cases, the Lancer is not just a weapon. It is a flying node in the networked battlefield of the future. Today, only around 45 B-1Bs remain in service. The rest have been retired, their parts salvaged to keep the remaining fleet operational. But for the men and women who maintain and fly them, the aircraft is more than metal. It is a legacy. It represents a time when the United States was locked in a high-stakes technological race with its greatest rival. And it still carries the weight of that history every time it lifts off. The B-1B Lancer is not just a bomber. It is a product of Cold War urgency, post-Cold War adaptation, and 21st century innovation. It has bridged eras, survived budget cuts, and remained relevant in the face of constant change. It has outlived political administrations, strategic doctrines, and even some of the generals who once planned its retirement. For America and its allies, it remains a symbol of reach, power, and endurance. For adversaries, it is a reminder that even aging platforms can still strike with precision and force.